I mean, let's talk a little bit about what working with Bob taught you. I mean, you alluded to it earlier, to the fact that, you know, you were wide open and you were ready for another level of input, of education, of overall learning. And Bob is, I'm not sure how many people know this about Bob, but he's himself an incredibly talented musician, and had his own band for a long time,
Right.
who actually toured with Bon Jovi, for whatever that's worth. They were in
Yep.
stadiums and so on. He had a
A couple
great old
radio
time. So
songs.
yeah, so he's Rockhead. So he's and just again to say that band was Rockhead. That wasn't me stumbling on coughing. But he
It's both.
he's a very able and talented musician. He's got a way about him of communicating, which is, just as you say, quite paternal. Being a parent, I mean, we could, you know, we can eulogize a bit more about him if we wish, but let's do that by virtue of you telling us what he taught you.
So the place that I was coming from with my bass playing, Flotsam and Jetsam, I wrote, 80 or 85% of the riffs and stuff, and on the bass, and the demo was made with the bass, like always, man, and then the guitars would come and go on top, and on top of that, the guitars would kind of follow the bass, and I go back and forth. So it was just voicings together, playing the same busy shit. That's where I came from. And, crossing up my favorites, and Lemmy and Steve Harris and Geddy Lee and that kind of thing, where it's moving a little bit and there's busyness to it. So I came in and realized that that's not how it goes. And especially in these songs, they weren't those kind of songs. And so I had to figure out how to lay that weight down and be the bass player, not worried about playing all the notes that the guitar player is playing. If I listen back to a proper Motown song or a proper blues song or something where the bass player is laying down, sometimes, or like, man, in AC/DC, man, Mark Evans, Cliff, they just lay on that one note for a week and a half while Malcolm and Angus play all the cool riffs. And that's why it sounds like it sounds. Because he's just, the whole time, the bass is by itself playing one note, and it's just pushing the guitars forward because it doesn't fuck with them trying to play the same notes and stuff. It just supports them. So the guitars are going out over the top like that. I didn't know that till then. I know what I like. I liked how AC/DC sounded. I love how the bass went, but I like busier bass better, just like any bass player would, I guess, until I figured that how cool it is to just lay down the concrete, and how much more respect you get as a bass player if you actually play your part. Don't worry about playing the guitar part and being all flashy and shit. Get back in there, lay that shit down. In this band, once I understood it, I have my own complete universe. I wrote down a universe again. I have my complete own universe of spectral, right? Because Lars played only with the guitar. His Monitor Live, only guitar comes out. All the songs that they ever created, they were the original garage band two-piece. Before Duo Jets, before White Stripes, before Black Keys, they were the two-piece garage band. They were all the way back then. And so that's what it remained to this day. It's still that garage band of those two guys with implemented supplemental cats on either side of them.
It's it's a fascinating observation. I'd never actually thought of it like that.
And that's the way, like in Justice for All, that's how it sounds to them. They've only ever been that two-piece band in the garage. That's how it sounds. And they got fucking demo-itis and said, that's how it sounds. Not like that. I mean, fuck. It seems like so fucking plain to what? It seems like it's so right there. Anyway, where am I going? Bob Rock. So I realized that, in between that time, something important, in 80, whenever we did the Garage Days Revisited, I played the prototype 5-string ESP bass, the first one. And so I was able to get that big string underneath of James's guitar. So all of a sudden, when I was able to actually implement that in the recording, having that bigger string underneath and all that stuff made a big, big difference in what happened sonically. So Bob told me, I know you're down with Sepultura, man. I know you like Anthrax and all the bands, and they go jigga jigga jing and all that stuff. This ain't that. You see how James is doing that right there. You need to go underneath. You need to get all of that fucking heartbeat. It's all your own domain. There ain't no fucking drums there. You're just the bass all by yourself. The drummer's not going like every other band in the universe of any style. The bass player goes with the drummer, not in Metallica. So I have my own space to work with the drums if I want, come on with guitars if I want, or stay in my own place if I want. And he showed me that. He showed me I have my own domain within this band, and that domain is full. And if I need to go fast in battery, you know I can. But that ain't what this record was about. It was about sad but true. It was about sad but true. That's what this record was about.
I do want to talk about My Friend of Misery in more detail, because it was, you know, it was your Black Album. It was your Black Album contribution in terms of, you know, a realized song credit, however you want to view it. It was, you know, you bring that song in. That's your kind of baby in a sense.
Contribution.
And so again, you know, the songs you naturally gravitated to as you're making this music, and My Friend of Misery.
The Sad but True, for sure. Sad but True was right. That's number one for me and still is on that record. And for obvious weighty, bassy reasons. And Sandman, I think the introduction of Sandman, just the anticipatory build and the bass being so big, you know, that was like really made me very happy. Misery was constructed as an instrumental, and I had a couple different pieces. A couple of the pieces I would often play in my solo live. You know, I do a little 90-second thing of how the arrangement, like a little snippet of how the arrangement was in its entirety type of deal before they took it on, but of course, and these things. So it was the most different thing that I had ever submitted by far, because everything else was a lot like Blackened and pretty lots of me, you know. It was just, you know what, I mean, I is who I is, you know. So that's what was happening there. So when I played that gentle thing, and it was a finger played thing too, you know, that drew their attention somehow. They were looking for that song that did that, what's it called? Diffusion, is that the right word? The relief on the album. That one, you know, it's Orion or whichever one, you know. Down there, take a breath in between all the fucker, woo, you know. So that was that song, and that got their attention that way. So that made me feel really, really good when they chose that to be built into something, because it was so different. And I remember the moment I wrote it. I remember being in my house at Walnut Creek, and I'd only been there for, well, not very long, a year, two, maybe, and sitting with the black bass that actually ended up recording the song, the Spectre bass, in my living room, and just started messing with that thing and stroking, and kind of just natural with that droning, kept droning. And I can't remember which girl it was at the time, but girlfriend, and wow, what is that? Who did that? Or something, you know? And I'm like, no, man, it just happened. Whoa. So recorded it right away and tried to embellish. And I go back on and do a few more takes of it to see where it could actually go. Probably gave them about 3 minutes worth on the actual tape.
As the project was coming to a close at 1-on-1, it closes, and obviously it go, you know it's going to go, you know, for final mixing and mastering and so on. Was there any innate sense of what you'd made? You know, did you have the feeling that this was going to be anything close to what it became? I mean, obviously nobody can project that level of success. That's maybe not what I'm driving at. Right. But in terms of the step, in terms of the step that record took from Justice, in terms of the quantum leap, and let's be fair, the pilots of the ship have always had this incredible, and I mean, it is an innate sense of exactly what is necessary for the band to be what it is. And I mean, they've always nailed it, sometimes to the discomfort of some, including themselves. There's no doubt, but they've never been wrong in that regard, in the whole picture.
Fair enough.
But did you feel that? Did you feel it? What did you feel when this recording session came to a close?
Prideful is my first word. It's like really, really proud, confident, and excited for people that I respected to hear it. You know, I remember I had the tape with 3 songs on it, and I think it was Sandman, Nothing Else Matters, and Sad But True on one tape that I carried in my pocket, and would play it, you know, for people and stuff. And back then you wouldn't worry about anybody downloading shit or nothing. So, and we were all still very careful about it. And people I'm playing it for is my friend in my own studio, or my family in their own house and stuff like that. Indianapolis 500, May of, guess it would have been 91, because we would have had the mixes and would have been done and everything like that. So end of 3rd week of May or 91. Lou Gramm is there, singer of Foreigner. Okay, so big influence when I was a kid. Huge in the Midwest, gigantic on Michigan and Ohio radio, fucking huge, right? My brothers and all his friends had their poster on their walls. Foreigner was gigantic in my world when I was 14, 15 years old, right? Cold as ice. Oh, man, huge, right? Lou Gramm's there, and my friend Bradley Craig, who had taken us there as a host. Jason, meet Lou. Hey, man, wow. Pleasure to meet you, buddy. Like that. And what are you up to, man? Well, we just, I really like Metallica, man. What are you guys up to? Well, we just finished a record, man. I got a couple songs. You want to hear it? He's like, well, yeah, I really like that. Get inside fucking black limousine, right? At Indy 500 backstage shit, whatever you call it. And he's sitting up towards the driver's side facing me, and I'm here, and I got the deck up here, right? And I put the cassette in, and I put the thing, and I give it some bit of that fucking clockwise situation. And he's sitting back and I go, roll, go, right? And he fucking sat back like in the car, you know, and they like, and, just like kind of nodding his head. I don't know if he knew he was doing it like this, and I'm thinking he didn't like it, you know, because he's nodding his head no, like this, and it finishes, and he looks up, and he's kind of like a little bit, you know, been breathing hard. I'm like, what? And he goes, that's amazing. Wow. You know, like he was literally taken by the weight of the song, by just like, wow, that's evil, man.
Once he got over the fact it wasn't Waiting for a Girl Like You Part 2, right?
Yes. Once he figured it out, man, maybe just like, wow, holy shit.
That's awesome. What a great memory.
I played him, and then I played him the Quiet song, you know, and he was, whoa, you guys are onto something, man. And he stepped out of that car and he gave me some props, and I'll never forget that. You know, so answering the question, that kind of pride where you would, a childhood hero that even their first record sounded fucking great. And he always sang great. You know, sonically, they were always attractive and appealing.
I and just to, you know, to caveat that and to give you some, you know, support on this point with Foreigner, because there are going to be people who are going to, you know, be watching this and hearing this or reading it, and they're going to be like, Foreigner, blah, blah. I mean, there is no doubt that, number one, Foreigner were a massive band in this country, in the States, and number two, I defy anyone to tell me that they cannot hum at least 3 songs off Foreigner 4 if they are over 40 years old. I mean, it's impossible. And again, when you're in that pantheon of songwriting, even if you don't like the style, you have to respect the craft. And so, for anyone who might be thinking, well, this is a bit of a surprise, Jason, you said, like, you know, as a fan of Foreigner, it's like, no, pretty much everyone liked Foreigner 4. I don't care who you were. You may not have admitted it. And let's be fair, probably at the time, I'm sure in Flotsam and Jetsam, you weren't running around and wearing your Foreigner 4 shirt. But, you know, damn sure that when you were back with your little plastic Walkman, you know, when it first came out, you had your headphones on, you're kind of like, yeah. so that's a great story. That's a great story. And let me just phase out, and let's make this the end of part 1.
Okay.
Because coming next, we are now going to talk with Jason about the road. There was a small tour that followed this record, and it should only take a few minutes to cover.
I want to say one thing about our last deal, just right there. So
sure.
Jason's a fan of this, or Jason's a fan of that. I'm just like you, Steffan, and anybody that knows better, I'm a fan of good music.
Yes, you are.
I'm a fan of good music. So
Yes,
I
you
don't
are.
care what language, if you invented your own instrument, any of it. If it's good, I'm there. So
and
that's
and
all.
and and, and I do want to share with everyone that you know, back in the day, Jason and I would talk about the likes of Lee Scratch Perry and so on, and good dub. I've always, that's always something I've seen you as loving, is good dub music. And I think we've had our discussions about Massive Attack over the years and so on and so forth, and all
Yes.
sorts of good stuff.